are. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's session. Today, we are going to talk about decision making. How do you know you have enough information to make a decision? I'm talking about this because as we get to new levels of growth, when we get to new levels of our business, we come to a place where we have to make decisions. And decision making is something that's very tough for us to do, especially as entrepreneurs and as new entrepreneurs, because we don't know what is the right decision. We don't want to make the wrong decision, and we want to ensure that um, we do things that support our business, and we make sure that we can get a return on everything that we invest in. And so if you've always had an issue with making decisions, identifying if this is the right decision, then you are in the right place. For those who are new here, my name is Maureen Mwangi. I am a brand growth strategist, and I help beauty brand entrepreneurs by teaching them the sales and marketing strategies they need in order to turn their beloved product brands into household names by scaling with scientific precision. So let's talk about decision making. Today's going to be fun. It's going to be light. Not going to be heavy on strategy, but it's really going to help you think about how you make decisions from a personal standpoint, but also from a business standpoint. And so why did I decide to do this? Because decision paralysis is a thing. As we continue to grow, we're going to be put in situations where we have to make a decision. And a lot of us avoid or shrink when it comes to making decisions. And what we end up doing is prolonging or procrastinating, either saying yes or saying no. But oftentimes, I want you to think about it from this perspective. When you delay decision making, or when you procrastinate making a decision, you're always in a situation where you're at a standstill. And because you're at a standstill, you're in debt. How do I view this? You're indebted to yourself. Why? Because you're feeling this obligation that I need to make a decision. Hey Gayla, how are you? Internally, you're feeling this obligation that you need to make a decision. And that is why I'm going to constantly be referring to decision debt. And why am I going to talk about decision debt? I want you guys to think about it from a consumer debt standpoint. If you don't have enough cash in the bank, let's say you've gone to a store and you wanted to buy a product, and the product costs you $500, and you only have $200 in your checking account, it means that you have a deficit of 300. And if you have a deficit of 300, you're probably going to use your credit card to pay for the 500 to run the full transaction, then use the amount in your checking account to offset the balance. So you're going to be in debt with $300. That $300 is synonymous to you being indebted to yourself when you delay decision making. Whenever you delay decision making, you're prolonging that process, and you're also procrastinating getting the action. So I want you to always remember, when you're not making a decision, when you're in this holding pattern, you're in a situation of decision debt. And so oftentimes when this emotion and this energy of obligation, I'm obligated to say yes to this, I'm obligated to either say no to this. And this is where you end up either feeling confused, feeling frustrated, or feeling overwhelmed. If you ever find yourself, you're confused, you're frustrated, you're overwhelmed, it's because you're delaying making a decision, or you're prolonging saying yes to something. And this is one thing I want you to understand. Whenever you make a decision, one thing is that it moves you forward, regardless of whether you say yes or you say no. And so because of that, you're able to free up the energy, so you're not in overwhelm, you're not in procrastination, and secondly, live a conscious life. Why do I say live a conscious life? It's easy for us to constantly be in autopilot because that's the easiest thing. It's easy for us to just let life come at us, flow through, not have to think about anything, versus having to be intentional with everything we do in our lives and every decision we make in our lives. Because when you live a conscious life, it means every single day you're deciding to do something. And when you're deciding to do something, you're taking action and then eventually moving forward. And so the reason I say this is because I talk to a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, and the one word that constantly comes up is, I don't know, or let me think about this. I'm not sure if I implement this strategy, it's actually going to work. I'm not sure that this is the right strategy for me. But think about the statement, let me think about it. I don't know if this is the right strategy for me. I don't know if this is the right investment for me. I am confused. Those statements in itself are very open-ended. And because they're very open-ended, you're going to try and simulate different scenarios. And as you try to simulate different scenarios, you're using a lot of brain power and brain energy. Hence why you're constantly exhausted. And this is what I want you to understand if you're finding yourself in this situation. Because many of us don't want to make a decision or stay in a situation where we're leaving decisions unmade because of three things. Number one, we each have a conditioning and a belief system that there is a right and a wrong decision. The reason many of us find it easier for us to say, let me think about it, I'm confused, I don't know, I'm just going to not think about this and actually, what do you call it, live in oblivion, is because we have a belief and a conditioning that there is a right and a wrong decision. Secondly, we also believe that we should always make the right decision. And thirdly, many of us are usually fearful of making a decision because action is required. And a lot of times, the action that is required tends to be very risky. And so we do not want to experience discomfort. But here's the thing I want you to understand. This is a concept that Kara Gazy has taught me and constantly teaches my clients, is making a decision is a neutral factor. It's a neutral factor. What changes that is the perception that we have around the decision that you end up making. And so if making a decision is a neutral factor, then there is no right or wrong decision. And there shouldn't be any right decision. But many of us as human beings, it's human nature for us to now interpret that decision and make it mean something else that oftentimes makes us feel a certain way, react a certain way, and eventually get a certain result. And so when we're running away from making decisions, we're actually preferring to sit in a world where we're in debt with ourselves. B, in scarcity because every time you don't take action, there is a cost involved. So ask yourself, what action have you been delaying taking? There is a cost involved with you not taking action. Has it been the action of not hiring a mentor to support with the growth of your business? If you haven't hired a mentor to support the growth of your business up until now and you're guesstimating, you've probably made a lot of mistakes on your own. So if you're trying to figure out what is the cost of me sitting in action right now and me trying to guesstimate the growth of my business, look at the mistakes you have made. If you've paid a PR agency $3,500 per month for 4 months, you've probably paid them $13,000 or more. If I can do my math, you probably paid them about $13,000 to $16,000, and you didn't get any ROI. That is a cost. If you've been running paid ads on your own, not getting any result, you've done paid ads for about $1,000 a month for 6 months, that is a cost. So the cost of inaction or the cost of guessing is that. And that's why I'm pushing everybody to think about the decisions they've been delaying and what is it costing them. And lastly, when we prefer to sit in the environment of being indecisive, we're pretty much tolerating discomfort. And many people may not, the outside factors may not notice you're tolerating discomfort, but internally you're in discomfort because you're overwhelmed, you're confused, you're stuck, because you cannot come to the point where you're going to say, I'm taking action or I'm not. But this is the thing I always tell somebody. You're going to be uncomfortable either way. So it's much easier for you to make a decision and move forward with it. You prolonging or you procrastinating is just a stuck story. You're literally just staying stuck. But when you say yes, you're going to say yes, move into the action, experience discomfort, and then get the result. When you don't say no, you're still in discomfort, but you're in discomfort that's only moving you backwards. And let me give you an example of how this morphs up amongst e-commerce entrepreneurs. So we're going to talk about what I've seen with existing clients and what I've seen with potential clients. With existing clients, it's many people delay making a decision when it comes to implementing a certain strategy. So we're going to probably use when it comes to, hey, you actually need to niche down. So I'm giving you an example where you need to niche down, you need to get to a much deeper level of understanding who you're talking to. A lot of times, existing clients will be like, no, I'm not going to think about it. I'm probably going to focus on either working on my website or working on my logo. But what that means is the reason why many of us are avoiding that action as existing clients, I'm giving an example of niching down, is because, hey, it's actually going to put you in a position where you're actually going to start marketing and selling your product versus working on the back end and tinkering on things that actually don't work. So that action in itself is putting you in a situation where you're losing money, but not doing the thing that you're supposed to do that's going to make you money. With potential clients, it's usually who to hire to support the growth of my business. Especially when you're growing and scaling your business, it gets to a point where you're asking yourself, who do I need to hire? Do I need to hire an accountant? Do I need to hire a consultant or a mentor, an advisor? Or do I need to hire a marketing agency? And so you're giving yourself 3 different options to think about when it comes to the supporting the growth of your business. And so what happens when it comes to that point, resistance shows up from this perspective. You're going to not make a decision on who you need to hire because you don't know the full journey or the full direction of where these people would take you. Because you'll get on a call with them and they will tell you, we'll help you achieve A, B, C, and D. But because you're stuck, you're in decision paralysis, your question is, how are we going to get there? How are we going to do this? What is the step-by-step process? And so what you're doing in that situation is you're probably spending a lot of time talking to all these different parties that will help you with the growth of your business. But at the end of the day, you're asking a question of what does the step-by-step process look like, when in reality, what it requires is you first taking the first step and then deciding if this actually works for me. And because we end up wanting to see the full picture, we spend about 3 to 4 months processing if this is actually the investment that I need to make. And so if you're spending 3 to 4 months processing if this is the investment that you need to make, you're losing money at the same time. There's an opportunity cost to every decision that you're making. And so think about, where is resistance showing up when it comes to decision making? If you're supposed to make a decision right now, think about it this way. If you're growing and scaling your business, you've gotten to a point where, hey, you've hit a plateau. And you know you need to decide where you want to take your business in the next, from Q2 to Q4 with some support. Take the time right now and ask yourself, what is the cost of me not making that decision? If you're supposed to be implementing something, you've been told, hey, you need to start implementing some organic user-generated content because that is where the marketing industry is right now. Those are the trends in digital marketing. And you're holding off because what you used to do in the past has worked, but now is no longer working. Ask yourself, what is that costing you? And that is probably costing you a ton of money. How is it costing you? Because unfortunately, this is a sad reality of things right now. People end up looking at your social media content, at your social media marketing before they make a decision. They'll go to your website, then they'll be like, okay, this looks really good. Then they might want more information on your social profiles to validate the content, to validate their purchase. And so if you've been told by a strategist, by your mentor, that you need to start developing some user-generated content to make sure that your entire ecosystem is speaking to each other, but you're not, you're losing money. And so this is what I want you to start thinking about is, what is the work that you need to do that you've been avoiding? And why have you been avoiding? Have you been avoiding because you have a belief system that there is a right and a wrong decision? Or have you been avoiding making a decision because you have a belief system that every decision you have to make is right? Thirdly, have you been avoiding making a decision because you're fearful of taking action, and taking that action is going to put you in discomfort? Because if you've been avoiding making a decision because you believe that there is a right and a wrong decision, or every decision should be right, I'm here to tell you that's pure BS. There is no right or wrong decision. Making a decision is a neutral factor. That's a neutral factor. What changes is the perception that you have about that decision that feeds your ego. And if you're in business, you have to remember, you cannot make decisions to feed your ego. You can only make decisions that will feed the growth of your business. And if you're making decisions to feed the growth of your business, you're constantly going to be put in discomfort. That is the price you pay for wanting to create something bigger than you. That is, discomfort is the price you have to pay for living a purpose that is bigger than you. And if you've been avoiding making a decision because you don't want to be in discomfort, you're losing a lot of money. And I want you to figure out, what is that cost to you? Because this holding pattern of not making a decision or procrastinating and delaying is pretty much keeping you in decision debt, and is perpetuating the idea that you're doing something by waiting to decide, when in reality, you're just procrastinating. We're very good at, and I'm speaking like this because I've caught myself doing this. You find yourself just saying, it's okay, I'm still deciding, I'm waiting to decide. But really, you're pretty much just procrastinating, either moving forward with the action that you're supposed to be taking. And so this is what I want you to understand. Any decision you make is neutral. And I always have this conversation with people who've contemplated working with me. I always tell them, you saying yes or no to working with me is a neutral decision. This decision isn't right, and this decision neither isn't wrong. Either way, the decision is right, because I believe that a decision is a neutral factor. So the question I usually want people to think about, and I usually challenge them when they're thinking about working with me, is this. So once we know that we've eliminated that there's no right or wrong decision, what is the decision that will be right for you? What is the decision that would actually be right for you, meaning that will be in proper alignment with what you want to achieve. Because at the end of the day, I want us to make decisions based on what we want. Because when you make a decision based on what you want, you're pretty much allowing yourself to think bigger than where your current circumstances are. Because when I bring this strategy of everything is neutral and what do you truly want, it eliminates the need to be right, the need for the decision to be good, and the need for the decision to fuel our ego. And it forces the decision maker to step into their power, to step into ideally what it is that they want. And so if they step into what it is that they want, hey, Maureen, I've actually wanted to create a multi-six-figure business. Okay, if that's what you've wanted to create, if you had that, if you were a multi-six-figure business owner, if you were making 30,000 or 50,000 per month consistently, how would you be behaving? How would you be making your decisions? Then that is when we start uncovering what you actually need to be doing. Because a lot of times when we delay decision making, it's because we're making decisions based on our current circumstances, based on where we want, where we currently are versus where we want to be. And so if you're in a situation right now where you need to make a decision, you've been delaying, you feel like you're in overwhelm or you're confused of what you need to do, this is what I want you to ask yourself. In addition to how much does it cost you, what's the cost of not making a decision, is what do you truly want? Because I want you to make a decision based on where you want to be and not where you are right now. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to deliver to yourself. At the end of the day, you're the one who has to deliver to yourself. So so it's so much easier to step into what you really want to do and actually make decisions in accordance to that. And I've done this myself. I usually think about my future self, think about what would she be wearing, how would she be making decisions, how would she be evaluating problems, how would she be reacting to certain circumstances. And I actually have it on lots of sticky notes in front of me. And every day I challenge myself to act in accordance with her. Why? Because it brings me closer to becoming her, because I start making decisions like she is. So take a piece of paper and I want you to do this. Step number 1, I want you to write down the decisions you have to make. What have you been questioning? So if you're wondering what are some of the decisions that you need to make, think about the questions you've been asking yourself. What have you been questioning? Have you been questioning a particular strategy? Have you been questioning working with a particular mentor? Have you been questioning eliminating a few staff members? What is it that you've been questioning? Number 2, right next to each of the things you've been questioning, I want you to look at how much brain energy is going into slightly considering each of those decisions every single day. How will you quantify that? So alongside the decisions that you've been thinking or the questions you've been asking yourself, jot down how many times does this question spring up every single day? Because that shows you how much energy you're consuming subconsciously thinking about that decision. Remember when we talked about decision debt? This is a decision debt. You're in debt with yourself. You have an emotional obligation that is nagging at you at the back of your mind, but we're lying to ourselves that it's okay because you're going to finally wait to decide, when in reality, you're just perpetuating this idea of procrastination. So that's why I want you to think about how much energy is consumed or goes into slightly considering these decisions. And then the third thing is, I then want you to make a commitment to decide. One way or the other, I want you to decide by a certain date. Sleep on it, decide within the next 24 hours. Don't mull over it for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, because eventually that is what leads to the fatigue, the resenting of our businesses, the not willing to show up, and that usually impacts your bottom line. Don't sit here and tell me it doesn't impact your bottom. It does impact your bottom line, because for example, when you begin to resent your business, you don't show up. When you don't show up, nobody's going to buy from you. How do you expect to be seen when you're hiding? Like, honestly, how do you expect to be seen when you're hiding? How do you expect people to buy from you when you're hiding? How do you expect people to be drawn to you when you're constantly on autopilot? And this is what happens when we are fearful of making a decision, because it's going to put us in discomfort. That's the price you pay for delaying making a decision, for procrastinating, for holding on for too long. You may not see this, but over time, it compounds. Hey, Carrie. Hey, coach. How are you, girlfriend? How are you doing? And so that's exactly what I want you to do. This whole business of, let me think about it, I don't know, I'm confused. Honey, you've put yourself in that situation. You already know what the answer is. You're just refusing to claim the answer. Why? Because either you have a conditioning of there is a right or wrong answer, there is a right or wrong decision, and so it's either you believe it's right, there's a right and wrong decision, or you believe that there should be a right, like I should make the right decision, I should do the right thing. And I'm here to tell you, there's nothing like that. That is just conditioning. That is just a belief system that we've chosen to believe. And I want you to question that truth. I want you to question that truth, because if you don't question that truth, it's impacting your business and your life in one way or another. And how I have seen impacting businesses for the most part is people do not show up. People hide. People don't want to be seen, in addition to comparing yourself. But this is the thing I'm going to leave you with today before I end this live. How do you expect to be seen when you're hiding? How do you expect people to buy from you when you're hiding? How do you expect people to believe in your mission when you're fearful about making a decision or taking action? Like, how? Like, honestly, how? Because every time we run away from discomfort, we're actually running away from building our legacy and living to our higher purpose. Why do I say that? Because discomfort is the price you pay for your vision. Discomfort is the price you pay for creating something that's bigger than your pocketbooks. And discomfort is the price you pay for taking an action. And if you're delaying taking an action, if you've been procrastinating, if you're perpetuating this idea of, I'll figure it out when I need to figure it out, that's not going to work. We, as individuals, owe it to ourselves to always be moving. And how do you move? You move by making a decision. And so if you've been holding off making a decision, just make sure, if you're even watching this on replay, spend time and do the exercise I mentioned today. What are the questions you have? What are the decisions you need to make? Secondly, think about how many times in a day do you think about the questions you've listed? Because that's the energy that you're putting out there, thinking, delaying making that decision. And then the third thing, just decide. Decide whether you're going to do it or not do it. And be okay with the reasons that you select. There's nobody that's going to hold a gun to you and tell you that you made the wrong decision. You're actually the only person that's going to beat yourself up. And so be very careful about the stories you tell yourself. I can see here, I've been dreading the decision on doing live sales. Do you want to talk about that? Because do you want to talk about? I wonder if you want to come on live. Probably not. You're gonna say, since you've been not doing live sales. But yeah, if you've been dreading the decision on doing live sales, I would ask, these are some of the questions that I would ask you. Why are you delaying that decision? What is the fear that you have that would happen when you make the decision? And how is that impacting your bottom line? Those are the 3 things I would ask you. So journal on them and then ask yourself, do you want to continue being in this exact same situation for the next 3 to 6 months? And if yes, fine. If no, take the action. Because at the end of the day, you take the action, you either make money or you don't make money. If you don't make money, you have data. You have data that tells you why you didn't make money. If you make money, you also have data that tells you why you made money. There's an app called Come and Sold. Yes, go and do it. Think about it, Kerry. Think about it. Just think about what is it costing you not doing it. Probably it's costing you sales, my friend. I know you. It's costing you sales. Go and do it. What's the worst that could happen? That's the first thing I usually ask people. What's the worst that could happen? Think about it. What's the worst that could happen? Many times when you think about it critically, it's never so bad. It's just that our brain does a very good job of magnifying what the problem is. Our brain does a fantastic job of magnifying what the problem is. And because our brain does a good job of magnifying what the problem would be, it's our job to combat that with our actions. Because at the end of the day, an action taken gives you a lesson or gives you a win. Like Nelson Mandela said, it gives you a win or a lesson. From the lesson, you find what worked, what didn't work, and then you amplify what worked or improve on what didn't work. That's how we run businesses. That's how we continue becoming better. We continue creating bigger businesses. And that's how we get closer to being like the people we actually admire. If you can really work on the decision-making process, I can guarantee you your business will grow so much faster. Why am I saying this? Because this is a hard lesson I had to learn. I learned this the hard way. It was the hardest thing I had to go through. And like I say, I'm never going to teach something that I'm not going through. Every question, literally, I bring on these lives, I bring on the podcast, I bring on every episode, I'm asking myself. I have a journal. I'm asking myself, what is the cost of me not making a decision? What am I actually fearful of? What's the worst that could happen? And am I making this decision to feed my ego, or am I making this decision to actually feed my business and drive my business forward? If I'm making a decision to feed my ego, if I'm fearful of making a decision to feed my ego, then it means that I have put my ego first ahead of my customers. And at the end of the day, my customers are buying the transformation that I'm out here putting. Just the same way I tell you people, if you're selling a product, your customers are buying the transformation and the solution that you're selling out there. Ain't got nothing to do with you. You will influence it. You will influence it in this perspective. Either you're a minority-owned business or a Black-owned business. That's how you influence the decision. But at the end of the day, people want to know, hey, my hair has to have moisture. B, my skin needs to glow. My makeup needs to stay. My serum needs to clear my skin. That's all people care about. Nobody cares about either whether Sherry looks glowed up or has done her makeup. Nobody cares about that. People just care about the solution that you're offering after. And if you can always lead your business from that perspective, you're going to always make money. Because remember, when you make the decision, you're moving forward, taking an action. When you're moving forward and taking an action, you're subjecting yourself to discomfort. And when you're subjecting yourself to discomfort, you do the things that require you to make money. Because the things that require you to make money oftentimes are the most uncomfortable things on earth. And when you do that, you're seen And once you're seen, people are willing to buy from you because nobody is going to buy from you when you're hiding. You probably don't even buy from brands that are hiding or from people that you don't know. Right now, we're all playing a visibility game. And I was listening, I think I saw this from Madi yesterday or the day before, where he talked about the levels that are saturated are the levels at the bottom. The 10%, the 10%, the creme de la creme, never think about saturation. And he used an example. Does Beyonce care about the new people coming up to dance? Does she care? No. She knows she at the top, you're an expert. You're playing the game. You're doing the thing. So you're magnetizing your people. So you're in your league. At the bottom, we're all competing for visibility. Why? Because we show up when we want to show up. And when you show up when we want to show up, don't complain when your bank account looks exactly like how you're showing up. Don't come here and tell me, do not complain. Why? Because you're creating that result. You're creating that result. If you're only showing up once a month, you're probably going to make sales once a month. If you're showing up every single week, you're probably going to be making every single week when the compound effect actually comes together. And that's what I'm telling you. Ask yourself, what is it costing you when you delay making a decision, when you delay taking an action? Thank you, my people. Thank you for joining me. So thank you for participating. No questions in the chat. Awesome. And if you're really looking for some support, send me a DM. Like literally just send me a DM, comment on this, let's chat, and we can just literally have a conversation on what's holding you back. What's holding you back? What decision do you need to make? And actually take it from there. And with that, thank you, my people. I will see you this week as well. I'll be coming in to talk about one foundational element that will catapult your sales. I'll do that on Wednesday. And with that, have a good day, you people. If you're in the US, have a good afternoon. If you're anywhere across the globe, enjoy the rest of your night. Bye-bye.